Hello, this is the Watchdog. Welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Addiesdive AD2099. Let's start off the wrist check. I'm wearing this Casio Edifice EFK 100 automatic. I just reviewed this watch. If you haven't seen the review yet, and a lot of you haven't, I was hoping I'd get more views for this watch. Please check out the review. And Grego's still wearing my Doxa Sub 300T. Because I can't wear it yet because Doxa still hasn't sent me more links. Grogu said Princess Leia asked her brother Master Skywalker if he was capable of cutting the clone warts off of her nose with his lightsaber. He says sure, he'll be just like bullseyeing womp rats in Beggar's Canyon back home. She said, I have a very bad feeling about this. Alright, let's get this watch open, and this is a sponsored video. I clicked the sponsored button. Addiesdive sent me this watch for free. I do not have to return it. Of course, this does not influence my review at all whatsoever. But of course, those of you who are frequent visitors of my channel know I'm fairly positive when it comes to reviews. So I usually don't slam a watch unless it's really bad. I try not to be a negative Nancy. But Addiesdive reached out to me and they wanted me to review the AD2095, which had a VH60 powered chronograph on a double pass strap. And I said, sure. And then they sent me an email saying that they were all out of them and wanted to know if I wanted to review an AD2089, but I've already reviewed that watch. That was a dive style watch. And so they gave me a choice between this AD2099 or AD2050. The AD2050 is a Quartz GMT on a J-style bracelet, and I've done a million of those, so I just figured I'd do this one. It's just a little bit different than what I usually review. Another Addiesdive on my channel. When I first started my channel 4 years ago, Addiesdive appeared to be a slightly more affordable version of Steel Dive, making very similar versions of the Captain Willard and Tuna. But it didn't take long for Addiesdive to branch off and start making watches that look nothing like Steel Dive. This AD2099 is the Quartz stainless steel sports watch with what initially looks like a small seconds hand, but is instead a 24-hour hand. I find small second subdials to be visually appealing, but consider a large second hand to be more useful. So this watch is basically giving me the best of both worlds, although there really isn't much use to the 24-hour hand other than looks. I can add 12 to the PM hours in my head quicker than I can read that subdial. This watch comes in two different colorways, with each having a sterile option. I chose the blue with the Addiesdive name. I usually always choose signed over sterile. If you don't like the blue, your other choice is black. I'm glad they signed it with the scripted name instead of their Sea Hunter logo. The watch is fairly small. It's 37 millimeters at the case and 36 millimeters at the bezel. 46 millimeters lug to lug with inverted end links. And it's 11.4 millimeters thick, and they call this a bubble crystal. To me, it looks like a box crystal, but they call it a bubble. And it has a 19 millimeter lug width, which tapers down to 16 at the clasp. And it weighs 101 grams on the supplied solid steel bracelet with 3 links removed. The bezel's just plain smooth and polished, nothing special about it. And then we have the dial, we have the Addiesdive name in script up top. And I think it looks nice there. It's much preferable to the Addiesdive logo on a watch like this. They should just leave their logo for more dive style watches. Then we have a train track, minute markers, and then we have numeric indices. Plus we also have lume dots next to each numeral. And then we have the hands. We have sector hands, and they're loomed. And then we have a second hand, which is sweeping 4 ticks per second, because this is a VH60 Mechaquartrz movement. And let me get these out of your way. But on the very bottom here, we have a subdial. And it would be tempting to think that this subdial is a small second subdial, but it's not. It's a 24-hour hand. And it's a nice looking subdial, but it's not very much use. It's probably easier to add 12 to a numeral than it is to try to figure out the time from this subdial. And there's no date on this watch, and there is no ghost date on this watch. None of the Seiko VH60 or VH30 series movements have an actual date wheel. The few that do have a date subdial, but this one does not have that. Then we have a sign screw down crown, and this screw down crown supplies you 100 meters of water resistance, and it pops nicely and it screws down nicely. It's kind of small, but this is not a automatic, so you don't ever have to wind it. So you're just going to set it a few times and not very often. Then we have a crystal. Crystal is mineral glass. They call it a bubble crystal. I think this is a box crystal, but they call it a bubble crystal. And I think it's double dome because I don't see any distortion. So, and it does have an AR coating or undercoat. And it looks nice. Does a good job of not reflecting. But it is not sapphire. So if you scratch it, you cannot buff it out. And then we have the case. The case looks kind of like a oyster style, really. And it's polished on the sides, brushed on the tops, and brushed on the bottoms. And it's fairly compact, and it looks nice. I think they did a good job with the case. And then we have the case back. The case back has the Addiesdive Sea Hunter logo. Once again, I'm glad that this logo is not on the dial. I don't think it would looked well on this watch. Then it says Addiesdive stainless steel sport diving. At least it doesn't say divers with apostrophe S, because that's when you break the rules if you use the apostrophe S, if it's not certified, and this most certainly is not. And then it says waterproof 100 meters. It's not really waterproof, it's water resistant, but I guess resistant doesn't fit on the case back, but proof does. Underneath the case back is the VH60 Mechaquartrz movement, and the VH60 is the one where the second hand ticks 4 times a second and has the 24-hour subdial. And the downside, though, is you're going to be changing the batteries a little bit more often. But it does have a screw-down case back, so battery changes should be fairly easy. Just buy them from Amazon or AliExpress. Don't buy them. Don't go to Battery Patrol and pay $10 for a new battery. And then we have the bracelet. Bracelet's a 3-link, fully polished, and they're fixed center links, though. They're not fully articulating. But we do have inverted end links. But look at this, though. The end links are a little bit shorter than the lugs. So it's sharp right there. So it would have been nice if the end links were either a little bit longer or the lugs were a little bit shorter. Actually, shorter lugs probably would have been ideal because these lugs are a little long for this case. We have push pin adjusters, not screw pins. I've never seen an Addiesdive with screw pins, and I'm perfectly happy with push pins. And then we have the clasp. The clasp is milled. We have 5 holes to micro adjust, and this is their better clasp. I've had a few Addiesdive recently where the clasp is just that simple press clasp they used to always use, so it's nice to get the good clasp. Here's the watch on my 7.5-inch wrist. It looks nice, it wears nice, and I removed 3 links to fit on my 7.5-inch wrist, so it should be long enough unless you have a huge wrist. And this is one of those watches where I'm pretty sure it's in the price range where you can probably ask for extra links if you need them. And if your wrist is shorter, I'm on the very last hole of the micro adjust, so you can move it in. Oh, looks like I'm not in the last hole, the next to the last hole. All right, that once again showing you that the bracelet is plenty long. Here we are in the loom room. Addiesdive has always done quite well in the loom department, and just wearing this watch for review purposes gave me no reason to think otherwise. As we speed up the time, we see blue BGW9 hands and numerals and green C3 colored markers. The markers and numerals are fading a little quicker than I would like, and there is no loom at all in the sweeping second hand. But it is the major hands that matter, and they are doing quite well. I wouldn't call this excellent lume, but it's still very good considering this is a sub $100 watch. What I like about this watch, it looks and wears nice, has inverted end links, the bracelet's plenty long, has a middle clasp with 5 holes to micro adjust. VH60 movement gives you the looks of a small seconds with the usefulness of a large second, and it has very good lume. What are my gripes and groans? It's a little small for my liking. I wish it would have been a 39 instead of a 37. The lugs stick out past the end links, which can be a little sharp there. And it has 19 millimeter lug width. Do I recommend this watch? Sure. This watch looks and wears great, plus gives you the best of both worlds. The great looks of a small second sub-dial, but the usefulness of a sweeping large second hand. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Addiesdive AD2099, and I'd like to thank Addiesdive again for sending me this watch. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. If you like this watch, I left a link that Addiesdive asked me to leave, so please use that link. That's not my normal AliExpress affiliate link, but I just figured since I got this watch for free, I might as well give you the link that Addiesdive preferred. And I'd like to thank my Members Choice members. I need to put the latest Members Choice watch up for sale so I can get a new vote out. Bye.